Coming! Hey, Ray. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jeff.
Oh, good. You brought beer.
Of course I did. It wouldn't be Thanksgiving without it.
Well, come on inside. I have the table set.
This is the strangest Thanksgiving table I've ever seen. No turkey, no mashed potatoes, no stuffing.
Don't be so negative, Ray. Don't look at what isn't here. Look at what is here.
Well, I see candy, Dunkin' Donuts, beer,
Yeah.
some jars of food, cans, and I think I'm getting it now.
Well, I hope you brought your appetite, Ray. For our Thanksgiving special this year, I thought we'd focus on some food products that were invented and are quintessential to New England. Hello, I'm Jeff Belanger.
And I'm Ray Auger. Welcome to episode 374 of the New England Legends podcast. This is our Thanksgiving special.
It is.
Whether you're on your way to grandma's house celebrating a Friendsgiving, or if you're content just doing it alone, we're glad to be with you today. We're thankful you're a big part of our weird family.
We are indeed. And as we kick off this holiday season, I'd love to remind you that my holiday book, The Fright Before Christmas, Surviving Krampus and Other Yuletide Monsters, is out now wherever books, ebooks, and audiobooks are sold. And I have 3 theater performances of my one-man Fright Before Christmas show coming up. I'll be at the Sing Performance Center in Whitensville, Massachusetts on December 7th, the Cobblestone Arts Center in Farmington, New York, that's near Rochester, on December 12th, and the Shea Theater Arts Center in Turners Falls, Massachusetts on December 22nd. You can find links for tickets on our website or in the episode description.
We'll be back for this weird Thanksgiving feast right after this quick word from our sponsor. Jeff, as I said as I walked in, this is the strangest Thanksgiving spread I've ever seen.
Well, weird is our lives, right?
That's true.
Now, we've done some great Thanksgiving specials in the past.
We have.
We know the first Thanksgiving was way back in the autumn of 1621, and it looked far different than what we're used to today.
And far different than what we have here in front of us today.
That is so true. Now, shall we start with an appetizer?
B&M brown bread in a can?
The trick to this bread is you need to open both sides to get the bread out. Now, B&M is most famous for their baked beans in a can. It's the Burnham and Morrill Company. They got their start back in 1867 on Franklin Street in Portland, Maine. They were a canning factory for vegetables, meat, and fish. Now, Burnham and Morrill became known as B&M, and their baked beans became their best seller. Now, in 1928, they introduced brown bread in a can, both plain and with raisins. And for whatever reason, my grandfather loved it. It's a sweet bread with just a hint of aluminum for flavor. I mean, you can't go without it. And they thought, you could open a can of their beans, their bread, their veggies, and you can have an entire meal ready in minutes. Have you ever partaken?
I have never had the bread in a can. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I've stayed away from it.
My dad's dad loved it. And I was like, well, let me try it. And then all I could think of is, when you buy fresh bread, you have to eat it in a couple days.
Sure.
First it turns hard.
Yeah.
Then it turns moldy.
Yes.
Baked bread in a can. I don't know what witchcraft.
Or preservatives they put in there.
Exactly. I'm just like, bread is meant to be fresh. Otherwise, it goes bad pretty quick. But it reminds me of my grandfather. I have not had it in years and years and years. I'm tempted, but I do remember that overwhelming aluminum flavor, which you just can't beat. What do you have there, Ray?
Necco wafers.
Oh, of course.
They date back to 1847. Oliver Chase, an English immigrant, invented a lozenge cutting machine with which he produced the wafers. At the time of the Civil War, these were called hub wafers and were carried by Union soldiers. In 1901, Chase and Company merged with 2 other companies to incorporate the New England Confectionery Company, or Necco as we know it.
Okay.
By 1912, the wafers were being advertised as Necco wafers, a name that they have carried since. Based in Boston, these things have been a candy staple in New England for over a century.
Absolutely. You see them everywhere.
Absolutely. In May of 2018, Necco was sold for, get this, $17 million to Round Hill Investments. Round Hill Investments then went into bankruptcy auction, with Spangler Candy Company being the winning bidder. You enjoy these?
Yeah. So they're a thing.
I've never. They're something.
If there's a whole wall of candy, would I buy them first? No.
No, but they're always at penny stores, like
Yeah.
penny candy, if that's
Sure.
even a thing these days. You don't find them at like the grocery store with the Snickers and
No.
the Kit Kats.
Not that many people want them.
No,
Which is why they went bankrupt.
but they did okay for the longest time.
So I think what they're selling is not candy, Ray. They're selling nostalgia.
I think you're absolutely right
Yeah.
there. And it's also, teachers are known to buy these things because when you run out of chalk, they work just as well on a chalkboard.
Right.
So they're very popular
Yeah.
with the educational system.
That makes sense.
but-
I have a friend who loves these. And
Really?
It was his birthday. He's like, I want Necco wafers. I'm like, I gotta go looking for that.
The funny thing is, you can taste them just by thinking about them. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm doing that right now.
the consistency,
Yeah.
how it breaks up,
Well, yeah.
and then the taste, which really is nothing but sugar,
Yeah.
powder and sugar.
Right.
But I never enjoyed them, but I'm proud that they're a New England staple.
Yes, that's how I feel
know what I
too.
mean?
Yeah, I'm like, they're ours, damn it. Yeah. Don't you? We can make fun of them, but don't you
Just
do
like
it?
family.
Just
right.
like family. You're exactly right.
Well, you have one of my favorites in front of you. What's that all
Of
about?
course we do. Okay, so look, we know the donut was invented in Rockport, Maine. We covered that story back in episode 343.
Right.
So in 1847, a young sailor named Hanson Crockett Gregory made an innovation in the oily cake that would change Maine and then New England and America and the world and the space-time continuum forever and ever. So once the oily cake had a hole in the middle, it cooked more evenly and the donut was born. Now, almost exactly a century later, something huge happened. In 1948, William Rosenberg opened a restaurant in Quincy, Massachusetts called Open Kettle, and they served donuts and coffee. Now, in 1950, just 2 years later, they renamed the restaurant to something that everybody knows. See, they were brainstorming with the execs, and they talked about how people used to love to dip their donuts in the coffee. And so they named the restaurant Dunkin' Donuts.
Ah.
And in 1955, the first Dunkin' Donuts franchise opened. And today there are about 12,600 restaurants in 46 countries.
Wow. 10,000 of them in Milford, Massachusetts.
10,000 of them are, yeah.
Or
very-
right across the street from each other.
Yeah, you can't turn your head more than about 40 degrees in New England without seeing a Dunkin' Donuts. It's become a name synonymous with New England, but also now all over the world.
And I do love their donuts.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a rush, like what's not to love?
Great snack. And breakfast sandwiches. They did the whole thing
Yeah.
over there. I think they know what they're doing.
So I don't drink coffee, but people who are passionate about coffee, have their favorites. All right, speaking of drinking things, Ray, what's next?
Well, in 1876, a man from Union, Maine, named Dr. Augustine Thompson, developed a nerve tonic that would eventually launch a war that continues to this day. Now, after moving to Lowell, Massachusetts, Dr. Thompson added a key ingredient, carbonated water, that turned his medicine into a New England staple and eventually introduced the world to a new word that's synonymous with guts, spunk, grit, and determination. You know where I'm going with this?
Where are you going?
Moxie.
Oh, of
Moxie.
course. Right.
The Coca-Cola company bought Moxie a few years ago, but you can still find it out there. We had some, didn't we?
We did. We've had people give us Moxie. The episode we did on Moxie was a huge hit. People talked about it for years after.
Again, another one of those New England staples that's
Yeah.
hard to find, like the Necco wafer.
Right.
But it's out there.
It's ours. We've generally found two types of people in the world. You love it
Yeah.
or you hate it.
Yeah.
Very few people are like, either way,
I think I'm indifferent.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, if I have it, great. A little piece of nostalgia. If I don't, I'm not thinking about it.
I know people who would drink it warm.
Oh, wow.
I mean, warm Pepsi too. Like, I know that's a thing. So the best description I've come up with for how Moxie tastes, if you've never had it, is I need you to go brush your teeth with some minty toothpaste, whatever your brand is.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're done, crack open a root beer. To me, that's what Moxie tastes like.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
That's the flavor. It's got this hint of mint on top of like this rooty flavor.
Now I have to buy all of that and test it out.
To see how
Thanks.
close I am. Makes sense.
Now, Jeff, I love that dish, but I'm afraid what's going to happen a few hours later. So I might stay away from it.
When we're done with this meal, this is the least of your concern.
That's true.
So this is a staple of the region, but really the world. So Native Americans grew and cultivated beans, and they ate them with cornbread. That's been here for thousands of years. Now, once the English colonists arrived, They added their own fingerprints to this beanie dish. They added bacon. And in the mid-1700s, molasses became a key ingredient because molasses sweetened the beans and allowed them to avoid British sugar taxes. So you could use molasses to sweeten it instead of sugar. It was a little bit cheaper.
Sure.
And in that point, the Boston baked beans were truly born. Now, in colonial New England, baked beans were traditionally cooked on Saturdays, and they were left to simmer overnight in brick ovens. And this allowed people to eat a hot meal on Sunday without breaking the Sabbath restrictions. Now, later, some mustard and salt were added, and now it's just become a Boston staple. And in fact, that's why people call Boston Beantown. I mean, no one we know
It's all connected.
calls it that anymore.
No, nobody local. When somebody says, I'm from Beantown, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Nobody
Stop it.
says that. But that's where the nickname came from, Boston baked beans. My grandmother used to make them in a crock pot, and she would do the full 24 hours. She would do the whole...
Oh, she made them from scratch.
From scratch.
Yeah.
Soak the beans, like the whole thing. And they were good. They were quite good. But, and she's like, the stuff in a can is just not the same.
I
But-
still like it, though. I don't eat it as much as I used to. I'm the only one in the house that enjoys beans.
If they're there, like if someone made a proper pot, I'm all over it.
Cut up some hot dogs and throw those in.
Oh, stop
Please.
it. Yeah. We throw away the turkey and the mashed potatoes. This is what I'm talking about. And then for dessert, we're going to need something sweet.
Oh, I have something sweet.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, let me tell you this story. A Vermont original that took on the world one sweet bite at a time. This famous ice cream company got its start in Burlington, Vermont back in 1978. Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, childhood friends from Merrick, New York, opened their first scoop shop in a renovated gas station in Burlington, Vermont on May 5th, 1978. They invested $12,000 in the shop, including $4,000 in borrowed money. And pretty soon they were making pints to sell in local grocery stores, and then things just exploded from there.
Yeah, they did.
People love their ice cream so much. Today, they sell about 176 million units each year. It's a ton of ice cream. And of course, we're talking about Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Thank you, Ben and Jerry. We did an episode on the Flavor Cemetery.
Yes, it's so cool. I've seen it.
Yeah.
We went a few years ago and spent a couple hours at the big
Well, you get
store.
the tour, you get some
Yeah.
free ice cream, and then you get to go pay your respects to the fallen.
That's right.
The fallen flavors, which is awesome. I mean, I love that they do that. And there's a YouTube video you can watch where they held a proper funeral for one of them a couple of years back.
Oh, did they?
A hearse pulled up, and they open the back of the hearse, and people with gloves pull out this pint, and they go and they put it into the ground. I forget which one it was specifically. It doesn't really matter. But I love that they.
I mean,
did that.
these guys were marketing geniuses.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
for that alone. And then the names are very clever and creative.
They made a better mousetrap too. Let's just call it what it is. You were used to like the pints,
Sure.
the things of the cartons of ice cream, which were good.
Yeah.
But these guys were next level.
Yeah.
It was smaller, more expensive, and
Right.
you're like, that's a lot. And then you tried it and you went, oh,
Colorful.
that's why.
Yeah. Well, the ice cream alone
Yeah.
is delicious.
Yeah. They made something better and more expensive, and we were willing to pay for it.
Well, how about some more desserts? What do you got for desserts?
Well, we've already talked about Necco, which is a New England candy staple. Let me tell you about another one that's known the world over, but I think very few people realize it got its start in New Haven, Connecticut by a guy named George Smith. He's credited with inventing this innovation in 1908. So Smith was inspired by the success of Reynolds Taffy. It was a local chocolate caramel taffy that was put on a stick. People were buying it. Handy way to eat. Taffy's so sticky. So the stick,
True.
right, you could hold it and not get it all over your fingers. So he was also a big fan of horse racing, and he had a favorite horse. So his idea was he began selling this, he called it used candy sticks in 1908. And what he did was he took hard candy and got it to solidify over a stick, and he named it after his favorite racehorse, Lolly Pop.
That was the name of the horse.
The horse's name was Lolly, Lolly Pop.
You know what I associate lollipops with?
What?
Lollipops.
Right.
Like I never thought it would be named after something.
It's named after a horse. And he trademarked the name Lollipop in 1931, and now it's pretty much a household word.
It is. I always thought it was one word, but
Well, now it is.
oh, it is. Okay.
But back then, it was
Lolly
the horse's
Pop.
names
Yeah.
was Lolly and Pop, so it's now one word. Hey, let's stick with something sweet, but I am getting thirsty. What do you have there, Ray?
Well, let me tell you the story about this delicious frozen drink. Great-grandfather DeLucia made the earliest Dell's frozen lemonade in 1840 in Naples, Italy. Love Dell's.
Of course.
During the winter, he carried snow into nearby caves and insulated it with straw. And when summer arrived and the local lemons were ripe and flavorful, he mixed their juice with just the right amount of sugar and snow, thus making a refreshing drink, which he sold at a local market. Grandfather Franco de Lucia brought his father's frozen lemonade recipe to America at the turn of the century. Angelo de Lucia, his son, began work on a machine to produce the frozen lemonade and on a method to make it consistently good.
Sure.
In 1948, Dell's Frozen Lemonade acquired its name and became the sole product sold at a little stand in Cranston, Rhode Island. Soon, Angelo designed the first mobile units in order to serve anywhere in the States. When Angelo's son Bruce entered the family business, there were 5 franchises in Rhode Island. Since then, Bruce has made the franchise business flourish and grow. So now there's Dell franchises everywhere, providing that refreshing, all-natural treat to anyone, anywhere, anytime.
I've even seen it in beer.
You've seen, that's right. They do have a shandy.
A shandy.
Yes.
Narragansett, I believe.
Narragansett,
right?
yeah.
So Narragansett does that. And Dell's is just one of those names that we all know, especially if you're anywhere near Rhode Island.
Absolutely, which we are.
Yeah, you've had it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the summer, there's nothing better.
Nice
for
thing
sure.
is, you don't have to go to Rhode Island to get it either.
No,
Nothing against Rhode Island. But
No, you can go anywhere now.
sometimes you just don't want to be in Rhode Island.
But if
and
you're
you
at
want
the,
a Dell's.
you're at the beach.
Oh, you got to get a Dell's.
How would you not?
Yeah.
Did you even go to the beach if you didn't get a Dell's frozen lemonade?
No, that's where you would get Dell's.
Yeah, of course.
You know you're going to get
Yep.
it down that way. And so you go to the beach, you get Dell's. If you want Dell's, you go to the beach.
Narragansett Beach, where my family has gone many times over the years. On the way there, at some point, my daughter's just going to be like, well, we're getting Dell's frozen lemonade.
Right, it's a
I'm like,
given.
Yeah, it's a given. We're going to do it.
All right, more sugary goodness. What do we got?
So this sticky white goodness is something that we've all had in our childhood. I hope somewhere. We're talking about marshmallow fluff. And the origins go all the way back to 1917. Now, before World War I, a Somerville man named Archibald Query, he'd been making it in his kitchen, and he was just selling it door to door. But then when wartime shortages creeped up, he had to shut down. And when the war was over, Query had other work, and he was not really interested in restarting his door-to-door, business selling this goopy, marshmallowy substance. But he was willing to sell the formula. And that's when 2 guys named Durkee and Maurer pooled their savings and bought it for $500. They'd just come back from France, and they renamed the product Toot Sweet Marshmallow Fluff. But Toot Sweet didn't stay on the label for very long. An early receipt still in the company's scrapbooks records a sale in April 1920 of 3 one-gallon cans to a vacation lodge in New Hampshire, and the price at the time was $1 per gallon. That's a lot of fluff. And the reputation after selling it door to door created a reputation among local housewives that eventually put fluff onto local grocers' shelves. Retail trades spread from there to the point where in 1927, they were advertising all over Boston newspapers. In 1929, they moved the factory to Brookline Street in East Lynne, and that tripled their floor space to 10,000 square feet. And at this point, they also hired 4 new employees, bringing the total number to 10. And now marshmallow fluff is everywhere. A Fluffernutter sandwich is a staple of childhood. You've had them.
I've had them. I've had them with peanut butter, though.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever just had a Fluffernutter sandwich or a fluff sandwich.
I've gone the trifecta: peanut butter, jelly, and fluff.
I thought it was either just the two, either one.
There's no
peanut butter
stopping
and
me,
jelly
right?
or peanut butter and fluff.
No.
Wow.
There's no stopping me.
That's crazy.
When I want it all, I'm going all the way.
Right.
So, yes, that was the trifecta of sandwich. And you had, the fluff side of the bread stayed okay, but the jelly side, you started to see your fingerprints in it.
Well, it was always hard to get the fluff, though, on the bread because it doesn't spread well.
No, it would pull this. We're talking about white Wonder Bread, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I knew.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm sorry. Forgive me for stating the obvious. Yeah, it would pull the bread apart.
Right.
So, yeah, you had to do it just right.
Yeah. I'm picturing it because I haven't had it in a long time, but I can it's on the knife and it's just not coming off.
I haven't been to Lynn in a number of years, but there was a corner museum that had a whole wall of fluff. That was like a museum display.
Yeah.
This is the town of fluff. Even though it wasn't invented there, we think of Lynn when we think of fluff.
What else does Lynn have? Give it to him.
Come on, they can have fluff. That sounds good. You've got something unique there that's not really a product. it's produce.
No, and you've probably seen Concord grape juice on shelves in grocery stores,
Of course,
right?
yeah, everywhere.
They mean Concord, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow, okay.
Fun fact. And yes, that actual grape was invented in town.
How do you invent a grape?
Well, in 1849, Ephraim Wales Bull, a farmer from Concord, Massachusetts, created the Concord grape by planting and evaluating over 22,000 seedlings.
Wow.
Yeah, his goal was to create a hardy grape that could survive the cold climate of New England.
Okay.
He succeeded, and then he began selling the vines to other farmers for a hefty sum. And it looked like he was going to get filthy rich off it, too.
Well, that makes sense. If the grape grows well, other people would want it.
Yes, and other people had the same big idea. So the farmers who paid these big sums for those vines, they grew and they began selling those vines to other farmers.
Oh.
And everybody started to make money off this thing until the market was oversaturated and nobody was making money on
So
these.
if I buy it from you for $10 and then I sell my vines for $5 and someone else sells them for $2.50, eventually that price goes down to almost free. I get it.
Yes, thank you for the
Economics
lesson. Appreciate
Happy
it.
to help.
Today you can patent these kinds of things, but back then you couldn't.
Sure.
So everybody lost out on that one. Dr. Thomas Bramwell Welch developed the first Concord grape juice in his house in 1869.
Welch, you say?
Welch,
Got
that's
it.
right. Now, through the process of pasteurization, the juice did not ferment.
Bummer. Too
yeah.
bad.
So he transferred the juice operations to Westfield, New York, processing 300 tons of grapes into juice in 1897, and that's where Welch
Just
juice
grape
came
juice.
from. Yes.
Well, Welch's Concord grape juice. I love
right.
it. That's pretty wild. I know he's buried. Bull is. He's buried in the cemetery there in Concord.
Yeah.
And it's a tragic story. He invented something that is everyone knows today.
Sure.
And yet he went broke.
When you invent something, you think you're going to get rich.
Right.
And he did for a little bit. He was making money. But then everybody else has the same idea and it's not patented. Then,
Right.
yeah. So patent everything. I think that's the what we learned from this.
Now we know. This is a strange one. This is unique.
I don't know if I've ever heard of this one.
Okay. So when my daughter Sophie was younger, she used to love when it snowed, as lots of us do, lots of kids do. She would scoop up a bowl of powdery snow right off our back deck.
Okay.
And then she would put honey over it or something like that for a treat. She called it honey snow. Well, it turns out there's an old New England recipe for this. And what you do is you take hot boiling maple syrup, you throw it on the stove, warm it up, and then you drizzle it over freshly fallen snow. And the chill of the snow makes it seize up into like a taffy.
Really?
And then the taffy goo, you sort of roll it onto a popsicle stick and you serve it. And it's been really popular in northern New England, like Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, during the spring sugaring season. So you would get the fresh maple syrup,
Yeah.
you would boil it, and then pour it right onto the snow and eat it like taffy.
And that's where you go to get that up north.
That's where you go.
The maple syrup.
But nothing's stopping you from making it during the next snowstorm.
So I would imagine you got to use pure maple syrup for something like this
you do not
to do it right.
You're not going to use that store-bought. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You got to use the real thing.
Well, this one everybody knows about.
Sure.
If you're from New England, clam chowder means a creamy base of clams, potatoes, bacon, and onions, period.
Sure.
That's it.
That's it.
Now, if you're from Rhode Island, then you prefer a clear broth with all the same ingredients.
Okay.
If you're from Manhattan, you use a tomato-based broth. We want nothing to do with that.
That's an abomination.
It sure is.
It shouldn't even exist.
Now, the first printed recipe was published in the Boston Evening Post in 1751. It's been a part of the fabric of New England ever since.
Do you like the Rhode Island style or do you like the Rhode Island style or you go with the
I'm
traditional?
all traditional. Yeah. I love that creamy.
Yeah, I do too.
Base.
But once in a while, the Rhode Island, not so bad. I do enjoy it as well.
Do you?
For sure. Manhattan, never.
No. Never. Tomato based?
Stop
Yeah.
making it. Who likes that?
Well, I think the thing about New England clam chowder is I feel like I'm eating seafood, which you are.
You are.
But I tomato based
No.
broth, I don't understand. To me, that's so far from the sea.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. There was a law that was passed in Maine about what is allowed in clam chowder.
Oh, really?
This was years ago. It was
Yeah.
like this funny little thing that some politician was just like, we need to settle this.
Genius.
Yeah, genius. Like, keep that Manhattan stuff out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Now, I do like a good Manhattan, like
Right,
the
the
alcoholic
drink.
drink.
Sure.
So I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But
with
keep your
clam
Manhattan out of
Yeah.
my chowder.
Sure, Manhattan next to clam
Fine.
chowder. Fine.
Yes.
Don't mix them.
No.
Don't mix them. All right, one more dessert before we ride off into the sunset. We're talking about fraps, not frappuccinos. Don't be confused here. It's not the same thing. So a frap it's a Massachusetts beverage that's basically made with ice cream, milk, and syrup. Now, some smarty pants out there is probably saying that's called a milkshake.
Right.
Well, listen, if you're outside of Massachusetts, yeah, I guess. But when you're here, a milkshake does not include ice cream. So if you want a milkshake, then you order a milkshake. But if you want frothy milk and syrup served ice cold, it's like nothing else. And the vernacular here is important. You ask for a frap.
Yes. And I've seen the confused look on people's faces when they look at a menu board.
Yes.
And it's fraps and milkshakes. Same thing, isn't it?
No, you're not from here, obviously. Yeah.
And you don't know your desserts.
There's a distinction. And if you don't know the difference, then go just have a milkshake.
Yeah. Or just go home. You get nothing.
You get nothing. We'll keep our fraps.
Now, we know there's countless other foods and recipes and products that have become synonymous with New England.
Sure.
We know some of you might be jumping up and down right now saying, like, what about tabletop pies?
Right.
Right? The delicious. What about coffee milk?
Oh, right.
Yeah, what about the Yankee pot roast, stuffies, and lobster rolls?
What about those?
Right? We know we've only scratched the surface here.
And in our defense, there's really only so much we can eat.
That's true, too.
So we'd sincerely like to thank you for spending part of your Thanksgiving holiday with us. We're grateful for you joining us twice each week as we explore ghosts and monsters, aliens, odd history, and people who make New England like no other place. We can't do what we do without you, so thank you for being there.
Now, if you'd like to thank us, please consider joining our Patreon. It's just $3 per month, and it goes a long way in supporting what we do. You'll get early ad-free access to new episodes, discounts to our events and merch, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up, or click on our Patreon link in our episode description.
And another way you can help is posting a review for us, especially on Apple Podcasts. It takes just a second, and it helps others find us in this crowded sea. We're also most grateful to our sponsors, to our Patreon patrons, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The bizarre is closer than you think.